India is immense in its plurality. This is Benjamin, and by the end of this video, you will understand the basic makeup linguistically of India. So that I may compress these languages into one sentence-ish, I need to explain a few basic things about linguistics in the Indian subcontinent. It really is an entire world unto itself, rich in a way that is hard to even comprehend. Over 700 languages, according to some. It varies, and that's another problem. What is a language? 740, some say. Others say 450. You get the point, there's a lot. So let's explain these things. India has 4 major language families. Indo-Aryan, across the north, central, and the biggest part of the country, at 78% of India, speaks these languages, which are part of the Indo-Aryan family, part of the Indo-Iranian family, which is part of the Indo-European family, related to Persian, Greek, French, Welsh. Okay? These are on a language continuum, many of them semi-mutually intelligible with each other. Then by 20% of the population, just under 20%, you have the Dravidian language family. This is an agglutinative language. And each of these languages, these are in the south, each of them have some of the oldest literary traditions in the world. That's remarkable. Along the northern fringes, along the Himalayas, and in the east, you get Sino-Tibetan languages. These are tonal, like Chinese. And you also get Austro-Asiatic, which is distantly related to Cambodian and Vietnamese, in the Central East bit here. Austro-Asiatic languages are known for having lots of vowel sounds. All of these languages are what's called a Sprachbund across the Indian subcontinent. Subcontinent is just a fancy way of saying yes. This is a world unto itself. And all of these languages, or at least the vast majority, are SOV. Subject, object, verb. I, rice, eat. You, ball, throw. You get it. You, it, get. Okay. And almost all of them as well put the adjective before the noun, like in English. White swan, fat biscuit. That doesn't take the biscuit, does it? Briefly, I need to explain the Indo-Aryan family so you know what we're dealing with here. Indo-Aryan, which is the biggest group, evolved into Vedic Sanskrit, which became the holy liturgical language. Prakrit was the common tongue that diverged from Sanskrit, and then split into several medieval language groups, Maharashtri in the southwest, Magadhi in the central east, Central Indic along the plains of the north's river valleys, and Central Indic split into 3, Western Indic in the north and west, which made up Dardic, another group, Hindustani in the middle, and Pahari. Pahad means mountain in Nepalese, which it's no coincidence that these mountain languages are in the north. There are over 30 languages in India with over 1 million speakers. That's crazy. Let's get started. Dogri is an Indo-Aryan, Indo-European language that is tonal, which is odd. That's like Mandarin Chinese, due to Tibetan monks being their overlords for centuries, with lots of Persian influence and 80% lexical similarity to Punjabi, with Mongol Turkic sprinkles. Marathi is the language of an Indian empire that almost became Persian. Almost! So they took in a lot of Persian, but then they said, no, we're Indian. So they took Sanskrit back. to replace all those Persian words for highly fancy and technical things. They went all the way back to Sanskrit to replace those, with a faint drip, over time, from the Dravidian south. Urdu is the Persianized twin of Hindi, and Hindi is the Sanskritized twin of Urdu, with Urdu having a dash of Portuguese and Arabic flavorings. Nepali is not just spoken in Nepal, but by millions of people in India as well. It is a Pahari language of the mountains of the north, and it is very fusional, meaning it conjugates verbs a lot, with heavy Hindi influence and Tibetan sprinkles. Assamese is probably the Indo-European language with the most Sino-Tibetanization, meaning if you are an Indo-European speaker and you want to learn languages like Burmese, Tibetan, Cantonese, Mandarin, and you want a bridge to it, this is the best language, I would say, probably, to do so. And it has an underlayer of Austro-Asiatic languages as well. Kannada is spoken by 4,000 people in Canada and 60 million people in southwest India, and it is a Dravidian language of the south with a lot of Prakrit and Sanskrit influence, with Marathi words for feudal matters, Hindi words for governance, and lots of Tamil sprinklings. Sindhi in the West was among the first Indo-Aryan languages to fall under the rule of Islamic imperialist fanatics, and so it has been reshaped, restructured by Persian and Arabic to a deep extent, with a yummy Sanskrit base and Urdu flakes. Punjabi is the third most spoken language in Canada, the first most spoken language in Pakistan, and the 11th most spoken language in India. And it sits on the northwest Indo-Aryan spectrum between Dogri and Sindhi, with a yummy pizza base of Sanskrit and Turkic toppings. The Tamil language is utterly fascinating. Tamil is the only language in India that can truly express itself in courtly language without having to turn to Sanskrit or Persian. They were very defensive of the purity of their words and their ancient language, though it has taken in influences from Sanskrit, Malay, Kannada, its friend to the west, and Urdu, sprinkles. Mundari is an Austroasiatic language caught between the monoliths of Bengali and Hindi, Indo-Aryan languages, wondering if it's going to make it. But you're doing a good job, buddy. Keep going. Yeah? Keep going. Garo is what happened when a Tibetan people followed a river south until they reached a ridge of hills between Indo-Aryans who would eventually become Bengali and Assamese and Burmese speakers to the east. And then they said, "Come and take it from us," written in a Latin script. with Hindi sprinkles. Bengali is when Magadhi Indo-Aryan was fought over by Hindus and Buddhists for centuries until Muslims showed up and conquered them. With Persian words for governance, Arabic prestige words, and Turkic trade words. 40% similarity between it and Nepali, with a bit less, but still quite a bit with Hindi. Burmese sprinkles. Odia is like a Bengali that's facing holy Hindu shrines instead of Arabic Mecca. They did not take in Persian so much. But like Bengali, and odd for Indo-Aryan languages, it has no grammatical gender. And faint drippings from the Dravidian language in the south, Telegu. Telegu. Telegu is a Dravidian language with 7 groups of pronouns. Don't tell that to the woke left. It has significant Sanskrit influence and Urdu sprinkles. If you're liking this content, hit the subscribe, like, join me on Patreon, buy me a coffee. Diolch yn fawr, thank you very much. Let's get back to the video. Bhili. If Hindi was French and if Gujarati was Spanish, Bhili would be Catalan. It's more like Gujarati, but it's got a bit of the pompous attitude that comes from the southern end of the Central Indic Hindi spectrum. That's pushed it a bit into its own direction, with Marathi influences. Hindi is from Vedic Sanskrit through Prakrit, the spoken language of the common people, which then got covered over by Persian rugs. And then they rolled it back and brought back a lot of Sanskrit words, because they are proud to be Indian! And Hindi thinks it's the Indian language, and a lot of the other languages are like, no, with Portuguese and English sprinkles. Tulu is like the little brother of the Dravidian language family. It took a script from Kannada, not the country, and round vowel sounds from Tamil, and borrowings from other Dravidian languages. But it has a pluperfect tense, like Welsh does, and French used to, but they do, but anyway, that's another story. That's Tulu, with lots of Sanskrit. The Gondi language is a Dravidian language a bit further north, surrounded by Indo-European, Indo-Aryan languages that are much bigger, which is beginning to reshape its structure into almost like a hybrid Dravidian Indo-Aryan language. Good luck, fellows. Kokborok is a Sino-Tibetan language, which, when the Garo came south, they brought friends who in the end ditched them and cuddled up with Bengalis, who changed their language. Maithili. If you're looking for a language between Bengali, Nepali, and Hindi, so you can learn them all, this might just be the language for you. It's a bit closer to Bengali, but if you learn this language, you're going to get access to all of northern India, Nepal, and Bangladesh by just how close it is to these three other languages. Nice. Useful. Konkani is a sister language of Marathi, which found itself centered on a merchant city, Goa, which opened it up to influences from other languages, loads of sprinkles, from Portuguese, Arabic, Turkish, English, Yemenese Arabic, Malay, with a faint dripping of Dravidian languages from the south. Gujarati is the West Indo-Aryan language of merchants, coastal merchants. They got involved in everything and took words back from everyone, Persian especially, Sanskrit, Arabic, Malay, English, Portuguese, Urdu. This is a bit of a trend in these languages, isn't it? That's because this is just to the north of Goa, and the same thing happened, except they were more urban, a bit more imperial. And so this became the language of classical liberalism in India. Kashmiri is the Indian language trapped between India and Pakistan in the most beautiful valley you can imagine, which is being fought over by these people. And they're like, why are you fighting over this when our language has the most ancient language, the most ancient Hindu origin words that can give you access to knowledge and wisdom if you just listen to us? Karukh is another North Dravidian language. Like other North Dravidian languages, it's being influenced so much by Indo-Aryan language that it's being slowly pushed away from other Dravidian languages. And it's a big language, so it's not threatened truly. It's changing to reflect Indo-Aryan characteristics, sound shifts, adopting more simplified grammar forms, less agglutinization. Meitei, or Manipuri, is what happened when a Sino-Tibetan language had Sino-Tibetan enemies and they turned to Indo-Europeans, both Indo-Aryans and the English, and like, if you help us out, do we have to speak your Indo-European language? We don't really like your language so much. Which is why they didn't really take much influence from Indo-European into their language. But then they did later, from Hindi. Santali is what happened when Austroasiatic peoples, probably from around Cambodia, sailed up to India 4,000 years ago and just stayed there. Took in a bit of Dravidian agglutinization grammar and then a lot of words from Bengali, Odia, and Hindi and just made it work. Ho is an Austroasiatic language like Santali, but a bit smaller and with more Bengali influence. And they like birds, apparently. Malayam is not Malaysian. And this is a sister language that's not really a sister language, but almost a daughter language to Tamil. In the 12th, 13th centuries, Tamil kind of birthed Malayam out of itself, even though these changes were already happening millennia before then. It's difficult for us in the West to understand how old Tamil and Malayam are. Malayam went for more the Sanskrit route, which Tamil didn't, and I think that's the biggest difference really between them. Malayam has more loanwords, and there's a few couple sound differences. Bodo is the Sino-Tibetan sister language of Garo, which Bodo made its own Latin script because they didn't want to speak Assamese. And the Indian government's a bit like, we're not really comfortable with that, why don't you do this with an Indian script? And there was a bit of going back and forth. Eventually they came to a compromise, and the Bodo, in exchange for using the Indian script, got full linguistic rights, and people were happy. Except a few communist nutters, which, they're always complaining about something, so I'm glad most of the people were happy with full linguistic rights. Question of the day. Do any of you speak any of those languages? What's your impression of the mutual intelligibility between others of the same language family? Please let me know, because that's something I'm really interested in, and I'm sure other people would enjoy reading those comments. For those of you who don't speak any of these languages, which one would you think you would like to learn? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you to my Patreons and my channel members. You sustain the channel, and each and every one of you who simply watch. The fact that I can create content and you spend your time even watching it, thank you. We'll see you in the next episode.